Hey guys, I have a project for you today, pretty small project, but it is actually pretty useful. So we're going to be building a sample text generator using React.js along with a specific API that's used for returning lipsum or lorem ipsum dummy text or sample text. And this is going to be completely dynamic, so you see we have this bunch of paragraphs here. These are being sent from the API, and then we have two input boxes here, paragraphs, which is a number box. We can go ahead and change this, and you'll see if I change it to 3, we'll get 3 paragraphs, change it to 2, change it to 1, and it's direct response. We don't have to submit a form or anything. And then notice that they have these paragraph tags. If you want to not include HTML, you can just go ahead and say no, and that will just take the HTML tags away. Okay, so pretty easy to use. It's similar to, let's say, lipsum.com, where you can go and you can specify a number of paragraphs and generate those. Okay, so it's kind of like that. Now this is included in not this exact project or these exact videos, but something just like it is included in one of my courses, which is if you go to traversymedia.com/eduonics courses, it's actually right here, projects in React.js. So there's 10 projects, and this is one of them, or this is like one of them. And if you do buy courses if you buy my Eduonics courses, please get them through either Traversy Media, Eduonics courses, because it's a special affiliate link, or through the description in my YouTube videos. Okay. All right. Now, the API that we're going to be using is at hipsterjesus.com, and it's very, very simple. This has an endpoint. We just need to make a GET request to it, and we can add along parameters such as paras, which will be the number of paragraphs you want returned, the type, which we're not going to mess with, and then HTML, which is a true or false, letting it know if you actually want the paragraph tags included or not. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, we're going to use the Create React App tool. So if we go to, let's say, I don't know the exact URL, but the main React website, and we go to Get Started, and then click on this installation link, you'll see what we need to do is install that Create React app globally, and then we can just generate a boilerplate application. So let's do that. I'm going to open up a new terminal. Make that a little bigger. And we can go ahead and stop this one and close that. And we're going to do npm, actually I'm in Ubuntu, so I need to do sudo npm install -g create React app. Okay, and you can use this from anywhere if you install it globally. That went really fast because I actually already have it installed. Now you want to go to your projects folder, or wherever you want to create your new application. I'm going to go to projects, and then I'm going to say create React app, and we're going to call this sample text gen. Okay, and that'll go ahead and create the package. Now, if you're very new to React.js, I would suggest watching my crash course on React. Once you do that, you should have everything you need to know in order to build this application. It's really not hard at all. Basically, we're just going to make a request with a component called Axios, and then we're going to take that result, put it into our web page, and then we're also going to create the controls, which will be the text and the select, and then we'll be able to change those options, okay, whether we want to change the number of paragraphs or change if HTML is displayed or not. Okay, so that's all set. Now we're going to cd into sample text gen, and let's run npm start. Okay, that'll start up the dev server on port 3000, and you should see this. Okay, it's just the standard boilerplate. So now what we want to do is open up our text editor. I'm using Atom, but you can use whatever you'd like. And I'm just going to add this folder as a project. Okay, so we don't have too many files here. Basically in the source folder, that's where all of our components will go. There's an app CSS file here, which gives it this look. I'm going to actually get rid of everything in this file and save it. Okay, and then in app.js, this is our main app component where we bring in everything else. We're going to get rid of this logo import, and then we're also going to get rid of everything within this div right here. And we'll just put in hello for now. Save that. Okay, index CSS, we can get rid of that and save it. And then index.js we can leave. This is basically kind of like the bootstrap. It brings in React and React DOM, and then the app component, CSS, and then it calls React DOM render, and it's going to render that main app component. And it puts it inside of an element that has the ID of root. And then if we go to our public index.html file, you'll see right here is a div with the ID of root, so that's where it's getting put. Okay, we can delete the logo SVG file. We don't need that anymore. And then in the index.html, let's get rid of these comments, clean this up a little. Okay, we'll change the title here to sample text generator. And then I want to use Bootstrap, but I'm going to use a customized boot swatch version. Okay, we're just going to grab, let's say, this readable right here. Click download, and then I'm just going to grab this link here, and then we're going to use that. If you want to actually download it and include it in your file structure, that's fine too. All right, so let's paste that in, and then we should be good for the index file. So we'll save that, close it up. All right, let's see. Now what we want to do is make our request to the Hipster API and then grab that data. So we're going to install an extra module here. I'm going to just do a Control-C to stop the dev server, and then we're going to do npm install axios -- save. And if you want to look at that documentation for Axios, let's see, you want to go to the GitHub, and you can see you can install it with npm or bower or script tag, and then you can perform get requests like this, axios.get, and then it's a promise, so you want to use .then, and then your callback will include your response. So it's pretty easy to use. All right, so that's done. Let's go ahead and run npm start again. And then we're going to import Axios. Axios from Axios. And let's create a constructor right here. And our constructor, let's pass in props in case any properties were passed in. And then we need to call super props. Okay, now this is where we're going to set our state. Now in React, your components can have state, which can just basically hold any kind of values. It's basically a JSON object that holds values that you can use throughout the component. So let's say this.state, set it to an object, and we want to set paras as an option. And we'll say for by default. HTML, we'll say true, and then text will hold the actual return text, but for now it'll be just nothing. Okay, once we make the request to Hipster and we get the sample text back, we'll populate this field. All right, now when we make requests to APIs, it's good to put it inside of a lifecycle function called component will mount. Okay, that's typically the place in the rendering where you want to do that. Now I could put the code directly in here, but I'm actually just going to call another function called getText or getSampleText. All right, and then we'll create that right below it. All right, so in this function is where we want to use axios.get, and we need to pass in the URL, which is this right here. Okay, and we can add parameters to it as well. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to put a question mark, and we'll say paras equals, and then we just want to concatenate the paras we have in the state. Okay, which right now is 4. And then after that, let's say and HTML equals, and then again we'll concatenate this .state.html. Okay, now this is actually returning a promise, so we need to use .then. Okay, so make sure you didn't put a semicolon right here. It should just go to .then. And then inside then, let's say response, and we'll use an arrow here. And then we want to set the state. We want to take the text that it responds with and put it into this value here. So this dot set state, and we want to set text to response.data.text. Whoops, that should be like that. All right, and then right after that, we're going to have a callback function. And we don't really have to do anything here, but I guess we'll just console.log. We'll console.log this .state. All right. Now, if this GET request has some kind of error, we want to be able to catch that. So let's get rid of that semicolon, and we'll say .catch. And then this catch will take an error, and then we'll just go ahead and console.log that error. Okay, so that's our request. So just to reiterate, it makes a request to this API. We're specifying the paragraphs and also if we want HTML returned, and then it returns this response, and then we're setting the state of text to that response text. Okay, so we should be able to run this. Let's save it. And let's go to our application, and I'm going to open up the console. Let's see, console is not defined. Where did I do that wrong? Right here. Okay, so if you look down here, we got an object, HTML true, paras 4, and then we have our text field which got populated with 4 paragraphs. Okay, so we know that the request is working, we're getting that data, we're setting it to the state. Now we want to output it onto the screen. So I want to create a special output component for this. So in the source folder, I'm going to create a folder called components. And let's create a file called output.js. All right, and this is going to be our output component. So let's say import React component from React. Create our class, which will be called output, and that's going to extends component. And let's create a constructor. Now this output is going to take in a property which will be the actual text. So let's say props, and when we do that we have to do super props as well. And then we want to set a state. This dot state equals an object, and we're going to set a value and set it to props dot value. So whatever's passed in as a property as the value is going to go into the state value as well. And then after the constructor, we're going to have the render. So we want to return, say div, give this a class name of output, because when you use JSX, which is what this is, basically HTML inside JavaScript, you can't use class. That's one of the differences. You have to use class name. All right, and then we just want to output whatever that value is going to be. So this dot props dot value, and that'll be the actual text, the dummy text. And then down here, we just want to export default output, and that should be it. So let's save it, go back to our app.js, and then let's import output. We'll say import components / output, and then down here where it says hello, let's go ahead and put in output, and then we're going to pass in value, and value is going to be equal to the text that's in the state that we got from the request. So this dot state dot text. All right, so let's see if that works. Save it. Output is not defined. Did I not import it right? Oh, I did that. So, oh, this should be import output from that. And there it is. Okay, so that's our 4 paragraphs that's coming from the API. Now, right now, there's no interface to change how many paragraphs we want, or if we want to show HTML. I mean, if we change it right here, that's fine, but we want to create a select list to change it from HTML true or false, and also a number field or a text field to put how many paragraphs we want returned. So let's actually create those components. And what I'm going to do is create a folder inside the components folder called controls. And we'll create one file called select.js, and then another called text.js. Okay, and then I'm going to copy the output component just to have something to start with. And then we'll change this to select. Let's see. It's still going to have a state with a value. And then in the render, this is going to be different. So let's get rid of that. And then this will just be a div. Now, when you return something, it has to be within a single element. We couldn't do this and then put another div here. We could do multiple elements, but they have to be within one single element. So we're going to put a select, give it a class name of form control. Okay, and then we're going to say on change. And we're going to set that to this dot on change, which will create, and then we just want to bind the this value to that as well. All right, and then as far as options, so we'll say option value equals true, and that's going to just say yes. And then we'll also do one for no or false. That's the value. The text they'll see is no. All right, now let's create the on change. I'm going to pass in E, and then we're going to just set the state. So we want to set the value right here to whatever's chosen here, either true or false. So we can say set the value set value to e.target.value, and that's going to allow us to get whatever it is, true or false, and we're setting it to this state option. And then let's do another parameter, which will be a callback, and then we want to set a property, so this dot props dot on change, okay, because we want to be able to access whatever this is, whether it's true or false. We want to be able to access it from here, from the main app component. Okay, you want to pass everything up. So let's pass in whatever the value in the state is now. Okay, so that will be either true or false. All right, let's save that. And then we'll go back to app.js. And we're going to bring that in. So that's what? Select from components / controls / select. Okay, and then we'll go down here. And we're going to need a form. I'm going to add a container class right here to push everything to the middle. And then let's put an h1. And we'll call this React.js sample text generator. Put an HR there. And then we want our form. Okay, so let's do form. I'm going to give it a class of form inline. Okay, whoop, that should actually be a closing form tag, not div. And then we want a div here with the class of form group. So we'll have a label, and this is going to be, let's see, what do? We did the select first, so that's going to be include HTML. Okay, and then that's going to be the select. That needs to be capitalized because this is the actual component. And remember, it has a value property, which we're going to pass in whatever this is right here, this HTML, either true or false, so that it knows what to do. So value equals this dot state dot, what is it, just HTML. And then on change, we want to set that to this dot show HTML. So this is going to be a function. Okay, so that's the select component. Now, the reason we did this is because, remember, the on change property now contains, let's see, where is it? Right here, now contains whatever the value is coming out of that component, which will be true or false. So we need to handle that. So we're going to handle it in a function called showHTML. Okay, so right up here, let's do showHTML. And that'll have either a true or false, so we're going to use X for that. And then we're going to set the state. This dot set state. And we want to set HTML to whatever that X is, either true or false. And then the second parameter is a function we can run after that. So what I want to do is then just call sample text again so that we can again make this request with the updated value of HTML. That's what makes it dynamic, and to be able to just return it back right away. So this dot get sample text. Alright, so let's save that. And let's see what's going on here. Select is defined but never used. Output is not defined. Oh, you know what? That's because the select component, down here we're exporting output, which doesn't exist. So we need to change that to select. Okay, so now we have our little select here, and remember the default is show HTML. If we now select no, there it goes away. Cool. Now I'm getting an error, a warning down here saying DOM property class. Did you mean class name? So I think somewhere I put class where I should have put class name. Let me just check. Was it in app.js? Yep, right here. These should all be class name. Save that. Okay, good. So now we want to implement the number of paragraphs, just like we did with that. So let's go to text. Actually, I'm going to copy everything we have in select because it's pretty similar. We'll just change this to text. And before I forget, let's change this down here as well to text. All right, now the constructor, I believe, is going to be the same because we're again going to have a value property, and then we want to set that to the state. So state value is going to equal props.value. And then in the render, we can get rid of the select. This is actually going to be an input. Give it a class name of form control. Oops. And give it a type. We could use text, but I'm going to use number. And then value is going to be this dot. Actually, we need curly braces around that. So this dot state dot value. All right, and then again we're going to do on change, just like we did with select. And let's see, what do we want to put in here? We want to do this dot on change, and then we're going to bind this. Okay, and then we'll end that. So that's our input. So it's going to call on change, just like we did here. And again, we're setting the value to whatever the target value is, and then we're going to call this dot props dot on change and send along that value. So let's save that. We'll go back to our app.js. Let's make sure we include it, just like we did select. So change that to text. Text. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to work that into our form. I'm going to copy this form group, and then we'll put that right under it. Change this to paragraphs. And then instead of the select component, it's going to be the text component. And the value is going to be this dot state dot paras, which is this right here. Okay, by default it's 4, but we're going to be able to change it with this. And then on change, we're going to call not show HTML, but we're going to call change paras. Okay, so let's go up here and let's copy show HTML. Change it to show paras. Or not show paras, change paras. And then that's going to take in a number. And then this dot set state, we're going to set paras to whatever that number is. And then again, we'll call get sample text to update the request. Okay, so let's save that. And I actually just want to switch these around. I want this on this side and this on this side, so let's just grab this form group cut it and put it under this form group. All right, and then I just want to add a little bit of spacing right here. So inside of the index CSS, I'm going to say input margin right 20 pixels. Okay, that moved that over a little bit. So let's go ahead and try it. So paragraphs, let's change it to 5. You can see that got added. Let's go down 3, 2, 1. And then let's say we don't want the HTML tags, we'll say no, and we can still add more paragraphs and say yes. All right, good. So this is completely dynamic and very fast. Let's put a little bit of spacing right here. So back in here, let's see, above the output, we'll do line break, and we'll do 2 of them. And then I want to put an HR below the heading. In JSX, you have to have this ending slash. Whoops. I already had that. What did I want to do? Oh, I want to center the heading. So let's also give it a class name, the H1 class name of text center. Okay. I just want to wrap a class of well around this to give it kind of a background and some padding. So let's see. Output, let's go to the output component, and along with the output class, let's give it a class of well. Okay, so that just gives it a gray background. Now we can easily build out this application too, compile it so that we don't have to actually run this server. So let's go ahead and stop this. And then to compile everything, we'll do npm run build. Okay, and that's going to put everything inside of a build folder. And then once we do that, we can actually upload it to a server. So let's go to our files. You'll see the build folder. Let's see, it's loading. Okay, so these are the files that it creates. Basically, static has our JS in this file right here, all bundled together. We have our index.html. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload it to my server. Okay, so I'm going to open up FileZilla, and I'm going to go to my Traversy Media hosting, and let's see, let's go to public HTML, and I have a folder called test, which is an empty folder. Now the one thing I want to do is just edit index.html. Oh man, it's all minified. But basically at the end where we have the source going to the static JS file, since we're in test, in the test subfolder, I'm just going to put slash test right there. And then also, let's see, is that the only one? Yeah, I think that's it. So let's save that. Just make sure if this is what you're doing, if you're uploading to a server and you're putting it in the test directory, you just want to make sure that you put that so that the HTML file can find that script. Okay, so let's go ahead and close these up, and then I'm just going to grab everything here and bring it up to my server. And this is just an in-motion hosting VPS. Okay, so now let's go to the browser, close this stuff up, and let's go to traversymedia.com/test. And there's our application. Okay, it's up live on the web. And let's test it out. So let's say we want 5. Okay, you can see it works perfectly. If If we choose no for include HTML, we get nothing, no HTML. All right, so you can see that this is pretty easy to put together. It's also really easy to deploy. Hopefully you guys were able to follow along. If you like this video and you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing. Think about leaving a like, and that's it. I will see you next time.